Hey everyone, I'm Andrew. Welcome to the farm. As you can see, I once again have the stock trailer connected to the car, SUV, whatever it is. Anyway, we are going to get something in the video today. But before we get started, there's actually something I want to show you that I thought was pretty nifty, and you might find it to be nifty as well. So went on the web and found this set of wireless LED lights. One of the problems that I always seem to have is that my critters like to chew the wires off of my lights on my trailers. So I found this set for what I consider to be a pretty reasonable price, but it's all pretty simple. All I do, stick it on there with a magnet. Of course, first there's a little button on the back that you have to hit that turns the light on. Hook my safety chain, safety cable, whatever you want to call these things. I usually pull them down where they're kind of tightish after I get them hooked on. And turn that one on. Okay. Now I will say this, these are not something that somebody sent me in order to, do an endorsement or anything like that. These are just something that I bought and I thought they were pretty cool. But there is an affiliate link in the description below if you're interested. If not, keep right on rolling. So once I got them on the trailer, I just hooked the wireless receiver unit into the trailer light plug. And I start the car. We'll turn on our flashers to make sure everything's working like it's supposed to. Oh, that one's on. Must not have got this one turned on. There we go. Just like that, I have trailer lights on this rough old trailer. So now let's hit the road and I'll show you what we're getting. This exit here goes to the sale barn. That's not the one we're taking. Not today, anyway. So I've been on the road for about 3.5 hours now, and I am coming up on my destination. But in order to protect the privacy of the folks that live here, I'm gonna turn the camera off, and whenever I get an opportunity, I'll stop and show you what I got. All right, if you can't already hear it, let me show you what I got. In this trailer, we have 14 ewes and 22 lambs. These are all Katahdin Dorper mixes, and I am going to turn them out of here before they have a fit. Mosey, back. Mosey, 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 come on. Get it out of the way. Here. No. Go. Go that way, go. Look at that. Woohoo, there we go. And just like that, we have tripled the number of sheep that we have on the farm. All right, well, I guess it's probably pretty obvious at this point that I bought more sheep, and I want to show you what we ended up with here. So this is a group of 14 ewes and 22 lambs. They are Katahdin and Dorper crosses. You can see the Dorper influence on the darker colored sheep. We do have a couple lambs that are limping, and I'm gonna take the blame for all of that. The trailer was pretty packed. I'd say it was at or near capacity in the number of sheep that we had in it. And so we've got some foot scald going on with some of these lambs. And, you know, that was a pretty long trip. I mentioned 3.5 hours from where I went and picked these animals up to get them back home. So they did have to stand around in that trailer for quite a while. And you know, they do what they do. They do what animals do in that trailer. And so it was pretty messy by the time I got it home. And what I should have done, hindsight being what it is, I probably should have gotten some, you know, pine shavings, wood chips, something like that, and laid down in the bed of that trailer, in the floor of that trailer, to absorb some of the manure and the urine, to reduce the likelihood of creating some foot scald in these lambs. So I am gonna have to deal with that. I've got or I'm getting some stuff to treat their feet and hopefully prevent that from getting worse than it already is. Now all the ewes seem to be okay. Not noticed any of them dealing with any feet issues, but there definitely is a handful of lambs that are dealing with some foot scald. So some of these ewes are definitely older. Whenever I say older, I mean, you know, 5, 6, 7 years old, in that range. There are a lot of ewes here that are pretty consistent, at least based on what the guy I bought these from, what he told me was that, you know, pretty consistent at having twins. But the goal here was to get these sheep and get them on our farm and increase the size of our flock. You know, we're trying to get built up to where we want to be. We'd like to be somewhere around 50 or 60 productive ewes here on the farm. That's the capacity we feel like we can hold based on what we, you know, the grass that we're growing and the cattle numbers we've been able to run in the past. But there's obviously definitely some color variation in these sheep that we do not have in the other sheep on the other side of the property over there. Those other sheep over there, they were primarily Katahdins, or as I mentioned before, these are Katahdin Dorper crosses. As you can see here, some of these older ewes, taking them a little bit longer to shed their hair, which that I guess is typical based on what I've read as they get older. You know, and it could be as well some mineral deficiencies, different things like that. But one of the things I've got to get done right away is get these little lambs, get their feet treated for this scald to make sure it doesn't get any worse than it already is. So now with this group, that puts us up to a total of, I believe, lambs, ewes, and the ram included 53, I believe, I think is where we're at. I would try to count them, but I'm afraid I'd fall asleep. Sorry, bad joke. Now, I don't know exactly how many ram lambs there are and ewe lambs there are in this group. I did not count them as we loaded them up into the trailer. And honestly, it's, as you can expect, kind of hard to get them to stand still so you can count them and figure out what you've got. But I do feel like we've probably got a pretty good balance here. You know, hopefully hopefully what we're going to end up with now is somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 ewes. Once these ewe lambs mature, then we're going to have around 10 or so that are ram lambs that we can then sell and try to flip and get a few more ewes in order to continue growing our flock. Settle down. Oh, I got them all worked up. Yeah, see this one right here, she's limping. I'm gonna have to get them caught and get them treated. So I think that's probably gonna do it for this one. Coming up in the next video or two, we're gonna try to get those sheep worked and take care of the feet on those lambs. We're also gonna try to get our other group of sheep moved to a different paddock, and so that we can manage the grazing a little bit better, and I got some things I want to show you with that. And we also need to get all of the goats bolused, because sheep mineral doesn't have a lot of copper in it, and so we are giving sheep mineral to the sheep and the goats. And in order to make up for that lack of copper that the sheep need, we need to supplement the goats with a copper bolus. So we're going to try to get all the goats worked and get boluses in them as well to make sure they're meeting their needs on copper. So there's obviously a lot of things going on the farm right now, so if you want to keep up, hit that subscribe button. We'd also appreciate it if you enjoyed this video, if you'd also hit the like button and tell others all about us. But for now, as always, we appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.